All right, let's get straight to it. Today, we're not talking about a new tactic or some clever growth hack. Think of this as a warning label. It's about a really common, really dangerous mistake that ambitious founders make when they try to scale. It's a mistake that doesn't cause a big explosion, but more of a quiet, structural rot from the inside.
And this, right here, is the core of the whole problem. You see a playbook, a system, some piece of advice that is genuinely brilliant, but for a company that's way further down the road than you are. The advice itself isn't bad. The timing, though, that can be absolutely fatal.
And this is what makes it so insidious. See, when you build a mature system too soon, things don't break right away. It actually does something much, much worse. It quietly suffocates the single most important job of an early-stage company, which is to learn. And that's way more dangerous than any failure you can see.
So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at why copying successful playbooks can be so misleading. Then, we'll define the 3 mandatory phases of go-to-market. We'll get into the core conflict between learning and throughput, diagnose the symptoms of silent failure, and finally, I'll give you the clear signals that tell you when it's actually safe to hit the gas and scale.
Okay, so let's start at the source of the error. That temptation to just copy-paste a polished, successful go-to-market system that you see somewhere else. You look at it and you think, that's what good looks like. But that is a really dangerous assumption.
The real question you have to ask yourself is this. When you look at that perfect dashboard or that slick operational flow, what's missing? What information is invisible in that screenshot or that case study?
And the answer is context. You are seeing the outcome. You're seeing the result of a very long, very messy journey of learning and validation. What you don't see are the specific conditions and the level of certainty that had to be earned before that system could ever work. Remember, the advice fails because it's mistimed, not because it's wrong.
So, to avoid making this timing error, you need a framework, a diagnostic tool. There are 3 distinct, non-negotiable phases to any go-to-market motion. Knowing exactly which phase you're in is absolutely critical for what we call phase safety. Let's break this down.
Phase 1 is GTM discovery. Everything is ambiguous. Signals are few and far between. Your goal here is not efficiency. It is pure, unadulterated learning. Phase 2 is GTM convergence. Here, you start narrowing your focus because you're seeing the same signals pop up again and again. The motion gets stable, and your goal shifts from broad learning to just getting clarity. And finally, you earn the right to enter GTM Operations. This is the world of throughput, optimization, and cost control. The goal now is efficiency.
And this, right here, this is the crucial boundary. The systems and the whole mindset you need for operations can only be put in place once the fundamental learning from the first 2 phases is basically done. You cannot optimize something you don't yet understand.
Which brings us to the central conflict, the thing that trips up so many companies. It's this constant tension between 2 goals that are fundamentally at odds with each other. The need to learn versus the pressure to just produce throughput.
Now, look at how different these 2 worlds really are. Mature operational GTM is built to answer one question. How do we do more of what works? It assumes you have dense, clear signals. But early-stage GTM, you're asking a much more fundamental question. What works at all? You're just trying to find one clear signal in a whole lot of noise.
So here's the point you cannot miss. Imposing an operational system on a discovery process doesn't make learning go faster. It just replaces the learning function altogether with a system that's built for execution. You stop hunting for insight and you start just measuring activity.
And this leads us to what that damage actually looks like. See, this mistake doesn't show up as some sudden crisis. It shows up as a slow, quiet decay, a silent failure that is incredibly hard to spot, even from the inside.
On the surface, everything seems fine. No alarms are going off, the system doesn't just crash.
In fact, there's activity. You have leads being generated. Pipelines exist. They're being tracked. It gives you this comforting sense of motion.
And the reports, the dashboards you so carefully built, they look clean. The attribution models are running. All the metrics seem to be in order.
But underneath that clean surface, a really deep structural flaw has taken hold. The entire system, all that activity, all those clean reports, is now optimized around a set of unvalidated assumptions. You are just efficiently scaling your guesses. This is the clinical definition of silent failure.
So how do you avoid this? How do you know when the go-to-market phase is truly over and it's actually safe to start building for operational scale? Well, thankfully, there's a very clear set of exit criteria.
The GTM chapter only closes when these three conditions are met. 1. The core motion is stable and someone other than the founder can repeat it. 2. Demand behavior isn't surprising anymore, it's predictable. And 3. Your key learnings have been validated so many times they have converged into what you can confidently call truth.
And only when that chapter is closed can you move to the next logical phase. And this is the true function of product marketing. Its job is not discovery, and it's not optimization. Its function is translation. It takes the validated truths from the GTM phase and translates them for scale.
This is the principle that has to guide all of your thinking. The entire purpose of the go-to-market phase is an act of discovery. It's about finding truth in a sea of total ambiguity. Operations, on the other hand, are about taking that hard-won truth and exploiting it for efficient growth. These two jobs are sequential. They cannot be blended. If you confuse the order, if you attempt to exploit a truth you haven't actually found yet, you will achieve neither. You will fail to learn and you will fail to scale. You lose both.